Hey everybody, I'm Ken Grace, the owner of Roxy Music, a music store in northern Indiana. We've been around since 1939. Thank you for joining us today. I'm today joined with Reed McDonald, our guitar tech repair guy on site, master of all things repair. I'm also joined with Jason Searing, who does our luthier work for us. And so today we are going to talk about repairs. All right, we're going to talk about taking care of your guitar and repairing. Hopefully you find this valuable. Today I brought a couple of things. You can count it up. I'm going to get close to the camera so you see, because I brought my guitar, which has had lots of work. So it's got a crack there, split there, split there, split there, flip it over, it's split there, it's split there, split there, and it's still going. So what do you think, Jason? Does this thing still work or no? Now, you haven't worked on that one yet.
No, I don't.
But it is well beat up.
I see that.
So, but you have worked on this one, though. This is my my PRS, which is my player's guitar, which we totally messed up.
Yeah.
But it's a beauty, right? We sanded the back of the neck on it because I like it to play a little slicker. Slicker.
Yeah, you wanted so
more slickerier.
I wanted it more slickerier. No, I wanted it smooth and faster. It was a little bit sticky for me. Reed's got probably the prettiest PRS I've seen. I'm trying to talk him into sanding his, but he's holding out on it. So, and then
I can't do it. I'll have Jason.
And then I also had Jason drop in some different pickups because I really like the chime on these 59s. And then he put in a push-push switch to split the coils that is not working, so I'm sending it with him today. So it just kind of.
We were just monkeying with that, but apparently unsuccessfully.
Yeah, just. Oh wait, it just stuck, and now it didn't.
It's a little temperamental, I think.
Yeah.
So, anyways, fun projects. I tend to play my guitars and beat them to death. I don't have a collection of guitars. I have this guitar and a Stratocaster that's pretty beat up. An old '80s Japanese Strat that plays fine, and so. These guys help keep guitars in working order. So, if you would do me a favor, like and subscribe to our video, and come back and join us, and we're going to get right into this. All right, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming back. Today I'm with Jason and Reed. We're talking guitar repair, guitar tech, guitar saving, sometimes making a guitar last longer than it should. Reed, you do a lot of setups and electronics work on a guitar. What is a setup? Like when somebody says, hey, I need my guitar set up, are we talking about just changing strings or?
Well, as we do it, do you mind if I use this guitar?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Usually a customer will bring us a guitar, and at that point the strings are old and wore out. Sometimes there'll be 5 at this point, and it's like, this is time I need strings. And usually the strings have been on a long time, so obviously we're going to take...
those have, if you look at them.
They're still in really good shape.
I haven't changed them since before Christmas, and we are sitting in June.
You use coated strings, though, right?
I do.
That does make a huge difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. They last a long time.
So
then obviously we take all the strings off. We'll polish the frets. I actually have guards that cover them, and then we polish them with steel wool. If it's a rosewood fingerboard, we condition the fingerboard because it can be very porous. It can dry out.
So what is that? Well, I mean, by the conditioning the fingerboard, what is it? What is that?
Hydrating the wood so it's not so brittle.
Hydrating it, so it's like putting an oil on it, or some kind of a cleaner on it?
Yeah, it's usually lemon oil based.
Yeah, it's
lemon oil.
It's a petroleum-based product.
Okay.
And it actually
dry out and crack.
It's important because the wood can dry out, crack, and at that point the frets can become loose, and that's when you start to have to take it to a luthier to have your frets replaced.
Okay.
So it's not just maintaining it for the beauty of it or anything like that. It's actually
on a guitar, the fretboard is the only piece of wood generally that doesn't have any finish. So it's exposed to all the environmental changes.
Okay.
The guitar would be too.
Not so important with maple or ebony because they're very tight grain and they don't really lose their hydration nearly like rosewood does.
Generally, the more figured and more exotic it looks, the more prone it is to drying out and then cracking.
As that guitar has.
Well, it's like the bridge on your dad's guitar. That's heavily figured rosewood. And that thing was cracked like the Grand Canyon.
Likewise, on an acoustic, typically the bridge will be of the same material, so we condition that as well.
Again, it generally doesn't have a finish on it.
Okay.
So they will dry out.
And we've discussed, while we have all the strings off, We tighten these little nuts that mount the tuning machines because they are almost always loose.
Oh,
Okay.
And I thought it was due to the wood shrinking and drying out. Jason says it's actually the vibration generated
I mean, that
by
makes
the
sense.
instrument.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes
Slowly vibrating them loose, and that can just give you tuning problems. 'cause you
sense. So,
have
I mean,
tuners.
we don't want to just use super glue to keep that.
Right, Loctite would be
no, 'cause
reasonable.
the wood is still going to expand and contract.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you lock things down, things don't, you know, generally go all that well.
All right. So, but when somebody brings in a guitar, like it's almost never just a restring.
No, and that's why we don't even do just restrings anymore. What we do is a setup that includes all the restrings and basically everything the guitar needs to get it back in the right playing order.
So, how about like in action? Like I know that right now we're wrestling because I'm playing next week. By the time you watch this video, it will have been months ago. But I'm playing next week with this guitar, and the intonations are slightly out, and so it can be out on an acoustic guitar too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do we do for that?
Well, anytime we do those kind of things, there's almost always a neck adjustment involved, and that involves a truss rod. And the rod's in there just to keep the neck straight, almost straight, in relative to the strings. And we'll find that anybody's guitar, especially around here, because we have two kinds of humidity. In the summer, it's all humidity. In the winter, it's none. So the wood moves. It's almost seasonal. Everybody's guitar needs a neck adjustment around here, and that's the right time to do it. And if you need bridge adjusting on an electric guitar, we'll typically just do that as part of the setup. If we have to shave the bridge on an acoustic guitar, it's a little more work, so
Okay.
that's additional.
All right. Anything else that you think about, like in the, like when do we know? Like let's say our strings are still fine. Like I still have all 6 of my strings, and I they still work and they still actually play fine. But how do I know? Like, how does the average person know? Hey, I need to have something done to my guitar. Something's not quite right.
It's probably that. It just sounds or feels like something is not quite right or not what it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, on acoustics, generally, it's when if they're coated, they don't always show age, but they will definitely sound old.
Yeah.
They won't have that bright sparkle that you get from an acoustic.
I've had guitars come in where the strings still look pretty good, but they've been so old, the intonation is off. Like you'll fret a half step and it sounds
Yeah, the metal
old. Really?
fatigues, and it
It's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
All right. Interesting. So, what makes a good guitar tech? Like if somebody's not here, like Roxy, like we were proud because we have great techs here. Like people come all the time just to get their guitars repaired and serviced and stuff. What makes a great guitar tech?
Well, experience obviously goes a long way, but I'd say just on the surface, it's doing to a customer's guitar what you want done to your own. I mean, you expect the guitar to be taken care of and get sent off to them almost like it's a brand new guitar.
Okay.
So all the little things, making sure it plays right, making sure there's no unacceptable buzzes or issues.
Well, yeah, and a good repair person will go through it and give it a proper inspection and a cleaning. Because the strings are off, so you can more easily get to things. And a lot of players don't do that, and unfortunately for the guitar, that's the only time it gets a chance to really be properly cleaned.
Guitar.
The other thing a good guitar tech will do will not leave extraneous unneeded.
Yeah, no pokey
strings.
bits.
Yeah.
And just for the record, that's not me.
No?
Other people play my guitars, and the strings often break, and I come back with a replaced string on there, and it's wound up on the end.
Or sometimes they just put any string anywhere.
Yeah, I've had that happen too, Luke.
It's shiny like the other one. It'll work.
Yeah.
Or it's wound backwards. It's on the wrong
Yes,
side of the
yes.
post.
We get
yeah,
those too.
yeah.
We get those too, yeah. Strings on this side.
It's
strings
always interesting when they can't decide which direction they want to go.
Yeah.
So I have a fun question I just was thinking about though, and because we sell a lot online, like there's a lot of our business is online market, and we set up our guitars before they leave, and they will not often, but they do arrive, and they're different than when we set them up. Like for the customer that's shopping online, what can we say to them to help them with that? Because what's happening?
All we can do is assure them that the thing was set up well when it left here. I mean, if it's going to an extremely different climate, it might be different. It takes a while, but if the guitar was in bad need of a setup before it left, it might do some acclimating on the wood.
Sure, probably like our piano. Like we have one of our studio pianos, right? We go out and we tune it, and we've had the tuner in a couple times, and it's way out right now, right? We just got to keep resetting it and stuff.
Yeah,
so
they're wood.
Just because it arrives, like we do go through the checklist and make sure that it's going out in a way that we would play it. Like it's like.
But it is still made out of an organic material, and it does have seasonal movement.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that the guitar is bad. It just means that somewhere between here and your house,
The climate changed.
or it rode in a truck that was,
Yeah, that does it too.
Yeah, or got dropped and took a jolt.
Yeah,
and knocked something
yes.
out of the way.
somebody decided to step on it. But we do our best, to take care of those situations. So a couple things that I would say, I just want to add, like when you get a guitar and you see scratches on the pick guard, make sure you pull the plastic off of there. Right? They usually come with a plastic coating, right, just to help you out because. They're in a store. We try to keep as many of them boxed up as we can, but not all of them are boxed up with there. And we try to take care of them as the best we can. But people test them out, and they're made to be played.
Yep.
But pull the plastic cover if it's check that out first. I think the other thing, if it doesn't work, check the battery.
Yeah.
These are a couple things that happened recently. That's why they're fresh in his mind.
And just check the battery. We try because it may play when it leaves the store, and it may not by the time it gets there.
Well, it was an acoustic electric, so they could have left the tuner on.
Right. So
Or it could have got bumped in the box, and because generally that's the push in button.
Totally.
Yeah. So, anyways, a couple things when you're sitting guitar. Well, we try to but I will say this: your best bet is to go to your local music store and play it in the store and buy the one that you played. Because you're guaranteed that it's walking out the way you played it, and so.
Though if you get an online guitar from us, it's probably not been out on the wall. It's in a box.
Yeah, we do try. We do try to keep them in a box somewhere. So this is my Taylor I brought. Before I move on though, favorite repair that you've done, like the one that you're the most proud of.
I was not prepared for that. Favorite repair that you've done, the one you're most proud of. I don't think I have one. I enjoy electronic repairs.
Okay.
That's, for some reason, I just find that. I take pride in having really neat, clean solder joints, and we've discussed our disdain for electrical tape.
Electrical tape never ages well inside the control cavity of a guitar.
No heat shrink,
it does
that
not.
kind of thing. It's got to look neat and tidy.
Yeah. So
I can't think of a single repair that I.
Yeah, but do you ever come to that place where you're like, you have been wrestling with a guitar for a long time and finally it clicks and you're like, and now it works?
Yeah, that's quite gratifying, yeah.
Yeah. And then,
I rarely will concede defeat to one.
yeah, I've watched Reed on the table. That guitar will sit on the table for weeks and it will go sit on the stand and come back,
I'll go over and I'll say, think about what you've done.
Yeah.
Well, some, especially when you're trying to trace down an electrical problem or a weird rattle or something on the guitar, sometimes it takes a little while to find, what's causing the issue,
Yeah, if you're trying it at home, I do recommend hammers. If you like, if you hit things with a hammer, that helps to find. Don't do that.
It eliminates the problem.
Yeah.
It eliminates everything.
Eliminates everything. See previous video of what happens when we throw something off a roof. So this is my Taylor though, which brings us to this Taylor has had to see luthiers a few times, and it's had to actually go through a whole rehydrating process, right? And then because I'm not awesome at taking care of my guitars, it's probably in need of that again, right? Because it definitely, it's usually a D note. When I strike the D, it like buzzes the thing. But
because you play in church and you're in D all the time.
right there, church worship musicians only play in D.
That's right.
To be fair, I'm watching that thing. It's going down, right?
A lot of times in D.
Nah, to be fair, in our church we play in B flat a lot. So
they have horns.
We have a horn section.
Oh.
Now we need a glass repair guy. So at what point? So now we've come to you, luthier, right?
Luther.
A Luther. So we've come to to Jason, who does the heavy lifting, right? So when a guitar, like I think I saw some social media posts where you've got an upright bass in pieces right now, trying to get the thing to upright bass again.
It definitely had a rough life.
A rough life.
Yes, I call on him for reconstructive surgeries, bridge reattachments, fret jobs.
Yeah, or like to fix my push knob that needs to be something. So talk to me about like what this process looks like.
Well, like for example, the cracks on the guitar, we would generally rehydrate the.
What does that mean to rehydrate?
Well, generally just putting something moist inside here. Generally, it's a sponge.
Okay. It's not like putting it in a bucket of water.
No, you don't want to get any sort of water liquid on the wood itself.
Okay.
You just want it to absorb it ambiently. So it's slower and control. I have seen repair guys that will actually wet the underside of a soundboard, and that will swell the grain together really quickly. But because it's so fast and it's only in a concentrated area, you end up with cracks other places. Whereas if you hydrate the whole guitar, and everything comes back together.
Okay.
Naturally, and then you can do the repair, the glue, and then the cleat so that it stays there. And because you've hydrated the entire
So what do you
guitar,
mean by so obviously glue, you're re-gluing the joint together, right? And then what's a cleat?
A cleat is generally a small piece of wood that has grain running the opposite direction of the grain in the top.
And so does it get glued to the bottom of it? And
The underside, yeah.
Okay.
And what it does is because the guitar tops, generally being spruce or cedar, have a grain that runs the length of the guitar. Well, it will always split along the grain.
Right.
So when you put a cleat, it goes the opposite of the grain.
Okay.
So that it can't do that anymore. It's now sort of stiffened up.
Like cross laminating.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like plywood.
Gotcha.
That's what makes
Gotcha.
plywood so
Yeah.
stable is because of the cross laminations.
Yeah, gotcha.
You're just doing it in a small area so that it doesn't affect the overall sound, but it stabilizes the crack and reinforces it.
Okay.
Even though the glue is technically stronger than the wood that it's adjoining.
Yeah, so it often comes out even stronger than it was before.
Yeah, and
Kind of like my Gibson SG that the headstock broke off. It ain't ever falling off again. That never happens.
But they choose little pieces of cleat because you don't want too big of a chunk of wood in there. It'll inhibit the resonance.
Does it mess with the tone
yeah,
necessarily?
it can if the cleat is too large or too
Right, that's
thick.
why they use minimal little pieces.
Yeah, because that whole
cinch it
thing
up.
is just vibrating.
Yeah.
It's just moving.
I have cleats that I've been cutting out of years out of an old soundboard from a upright piano.
Oh,
So because it's perfect spruce, it's really lightweight, it's dried out completely,
okay.
and that's I have an endless supply of those to put in acoustic guitars.
Okay.
And, it won't affect the sound because the wood weighs almost nothing, but it's plenty strong because it's aged spruce.
So is there a time when, so I'm going to say like your guitar, even though it may look like it's done, it might not be done yet. Like it could still, it still has life in it. It's kind of like my dad's, was it Guild?
Yeah.
My
his
dad's
old
his old, it's a 64, 65 something Guild, and he thought he was just going to chuck it because he thought, okay, this thing's done. It's irreparable. But it didn't. It came back and it just plays fantastic, and all that process. So your guitar is not done. If you feel it may not be, is there a time when it is done?
As a rule, no. Is the guitar worth the amount of money and time that's going to be invested to bring it back?
Okay.
But as a rule, there's virtually almost nothing that can't be repaired.
So if you're willing to pay for it, it can.
Yep.
But I found that it's really not much. It's not as terrible as I thought it would be to like fix some of my guitars. It's never. I like when I had that whole thing done. It was pretty expensive. Like it was, but it's still cheaper than buying a new one.
Yes.
It's still about
considerably
half
cheaper.
the cost of buying a new one. Of these.
And we've had people do $300 repairs on $300 guitars just because there's a sentimental attachment.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and it just has a certain feel that they're used to, and that's their guitar. And if for acoustic especially, there is a break-in period. The wood has to take time to get used to being a guitar.
Yeah.
Because I picked up some old ones that you just strum and they just sing. You're not doing anything. You're along for the ride.
Yeah.
And other brand new ones that are high end that are just stiff and sterile and
We've had people bring in old guitars where the finish is checking, is what we call it, and their question is, can this get fixed? Can you refinish this? And we're like, no, don't do that. The thing has just started to come to life.
Yeah, would say that too. I think that's one of the things. You know, I see a lot of this, and it's okay if this is you. I play my guitar. I buy my guitars to play them. Actually, I have a couple guitars, and they just get played all the time. You know, but you don't. A guitar is made to be played.
Mm-hmm. It's an instrument.
You know, I mean, it's great if you collect them, but that natural checking. You know, we have some custom shops that are sitting back here that are not naturally checked. They have been checked by professional, like guitarist people that are really good master builders. You know, but that natural checking it's a beautiful thing.
Well, right, and the way a neck and the finish will wear in from somebody actually playing it feels totally different than one that was artificially done. It may look correct,
one that was sanded.
but if you pick it up and play it, you can say, okay, someone spent a lot of time with this thing, and you know, things are just rolled over a certain way, and there is a difference. And some of those old guitars, they may not be, you know, valuable in that sense, but when they're put back together and made right, they sound amazing.
All right, so do you have a favorite repair that you've done? Like one that you're the most
yeah, probably the truss rod replacement on a 50 Gibson.
On a 50? 50s Gibson.
Yep.
Truss rod replacement on a 50s
J55.
Gibson. Wow, J55. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that was recent too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't Nate's, was it? Was it? No, okay.
No, he's a local gentleman.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the thing that's awesome about that is here's a piece of history.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that.
And when I was done, you couldn't tell I did anything to
it.
It looked, other than it had great action and a functioning truss rod.
Yeah, it's a guitar that still holds value. It plays amazing,
and to do it's extreme. You have to remove this entire fingerboard.
Yeah, and on a Gibson, there's actually a maple strip that's glued in on top of the rod.
Wow.
So you have to remove that strip, then the rod, and then put in the new rod, a new maple strip, and then the fretboard goes back on.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into this. That's why we say this is the heavy lifting, right? When we'll often determine, okay, it's moving on, it's something. So we're so glad to be able to work on guitars, and I trust these guys with my guitars all the time. I was here, you know, here to do this, so it's great.
He does.
So
he really does.
Yeah, I do. So. When do you know that you need like luthier work? Like at what point do we feel like we need, like, is there a way that they know, hey, okay, this needs to move on to a luthier?
Well, like if a setup won't resolve the issue, there's generally something else.
Okay, so going back to Reed, like we're setting this up, we're checking.
Yeah, like he'll notice that there's a rattle or there's a brace that's come loose, and that's why, you know, the action's really high because the top bellied up, or you know.
Okay.
We had a customer bring one in recently where the back braces had fallen out of the guitar.
Yeah, they came in their own separate baggie.
Oh, yeah. When your guitar is coming in parts, it's probably time for a luthier.
Yes.
Right. So. Let me end with this. Is there something that we can do as guitar players, as people who own these instruments? Is there something that we can do to maybe help our guitars last longer and survive longer, and maybe not be like mine with, you know, 50 splits going down the thing, which, by the way, we have incredible guitars in there. We've got, you know, D35s, Martin triple O switch. I love. They're some of my favorite guitars. But whenever I pick this guitar up, it feels like home.
That's what I mean. You know, a guitar should feel like an old pair of jeans.
It does. It's a pretty old pair of jeans, but it's you know, it feels like home, and it's like, and those, you know, are far superior guitars as far as build quality. But when I get to this, it's like, oh, there it is. It just feels, you know, I don't have a lot of effort that goes into playing the thing.
Right. Well, I mean, the guitar that, you know, is the best for you is the one that inspires you.
Yeah.
And when you pick it up and it just feels like home, that's the one that inspires you because you're going to play it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. That's one of my statements is what the best guitar you can get is the one that's going to make you want to play it tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's
regardless of what the price is.
All right, so back to my thing. Although I would say this, the better the quality maybe of a guitar that you buy, like some of the, you know, they're maybe a little more serviceable because we can get parts.
Well, and you know, the higher end guitars, they spend more time on the handwork in the factory to get them to feel a certain way. They're all made on a CNC, but it's all that extra time, you know, making sure the edge of the fretboard is really nice. There's no fret sprout of any kind.
However, in the case of acoustic guitars, they're almost always solid woods, which are more fragile. The cheaper guitars are laminate.
Yeah, so, I mean,
there's
the cheaper guitars are more stable as far as the tops and the sides go. But other than that, they're,
Yeah, I have another guitar that's not quite as high end as this one, and we've dropped it and banged it and done all that stuff, and it's still playing.
So back to your original question, that's probably the best way to avoid that. Is take good care of your instruments and keep them well humidified and or dry.
Yeah, and if you have a vintage acoustic, when you're and it lives most of its life in the case, detune it when you put it in the case.
Oh,
and put it away. Because then there's no extra stress and things. Because if it's not something you play regularly, it could be months. It's sitting under full tension and nothing happens.
Yeah. Okay. So they make humidifiers. Should we use those in our acoustics?
If your house is extra dry, if you get up off the couch or whatever and you zap yourself when you touch the light switch, then you might want to humidify your house.
Okay. All right. So cool. So use a humidifier in there, or make sure your house has an average humidity and keep it all pretty consistent. All right. Keep it in the case or keep it out of the case.
It depends if you want to be able to play it. If you want to, if it's out and you see it, you're going to play it. If it's in a case and you got to get the case out and then get the guitar out, the likelihood of you grabbing the guitar,
that mental stumbling block of 40 seconds,
a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it's out and
the health of the guitar to keep them in the case, all of mine hang.
Just because it's sort of a confined environment, so the changes are less extreme.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this is helpful. A couple things, a couple takeaways. Number one, take care of your instrument. Right? Just give it a checkup every now and then.
Come see us.
Come see us. We'll make sure, we'll give it a good look over. Get it set up every now and then. It does change. Weather changes. If you live in a climate that changes all the time, you probably need to have it set up, a couple times a year, maybe even just to keep it playing, keep it in tune.
More so for acoustics than solid body.
Acoustics definitely take a little bit more work, a little more care to them. And I think the higher end of the acoustic world, you've got to spend more time, like a little more effort in that.
And they use much higher quality woods too.
Yeah,
they're dried out.
Which the higher the quality wood, though, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay together the best. Because
unfortunately, they're more fragile.
Yeah, well, it's right. The more intricate and beautiful the wood is, the more figure it is, the more unstable it is.
Yeah. So take care of it. Take care of your guitar. Come see us. We're glad to help. Go if you have a service repair place near you and you're not in LaPorte, Indiana or Northern Indiana, go see them. See if they can help you out. Your guitar is not done. It's meant to be played. It's meant to be enjoyed, so go and enjoy it, all right? So until next time, thank you for joining us. Hit like and subscribe. We will see you next time. Jason, Reed, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.